Hey guys, so today's video is going to be a foundation review and wear test. I did purchase the new Colourpop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Hydrating Foundation, and I thought today I would do a wear test and do some check-ins and let you guys know how I like it. I have been testing this out for the past 2 days because I didn't want today's video to be a complete first impressions. I like to be able to share some thoughts and let you guys know which products work well with it, which ones don't. So I definitely have some thoughts on it, and I'm excited to share it. I was really excited to try this foundation because I love the Colourpop Pretty Fresh Tinted Moisturizer. Because I liked that one so much and I had such great luck with it, I was so excited to try this one because this one kind of sounded like a more full coverage version of that. So this foundation retails for $16. You can purchase it at Ulta or on the Colourpop website right now. It comes with 1 fluid ounce and there are 42 different shades. Now they do say that this foundation is ideal for all skin types. It's oil-free, Colourpop is cruelty-free, and this foundation formula is vegan. So on the website, they say that you're supposed to get natural, healthy-looking skin with this skin-perfecting, medium to buildable coverage foundation. It has some good-for-you ingredients like hyaluronic acid, and then it's supposed to give you just a healthy-looking, natural finish. I think the claims for this foundation are very similar to the Pretty Fresh Tinted Moisturizer, but this one claims to have medium to buildable coverage. So it sounded really great for me, ideal for everyday wear because, for everyday wear, I do prefer a little bit more coverage. So I was excited to try it out. If you're just interested in seeing the demo and the wear test, I'll put a timestamp on the screen. You guys can jump ahead, but I just want to share some thoughts on this product. I have been wearing it for the past 2 days. I think this foundation applies very beautifully. It's a really smooth formula, so it doesn't seem to settle into fine lines or wrinkles, at least not initially. It builds very, very well. It's super lightweight on the skin, so it feels incredibly comfortable. It doesn't feel sticky or tacky, and it doesn't feel like you have a lot of foundation on your face. It really doesn't have a strong scent. In fact, I didn't even think about that until I was kind of thinking through what I wanted to mention in today's video, but I did not notice any scent, which is really, really nice. And I do feel like you can wear this foundation a variety of ways. So you can totally prep your skin with more of a glowy or hydrating base. If you have dry skin or you just prefer more of a fresh, dewy look, you can also go in with a smoothing base or a mattifying base. And, depending on how you prep your skin, this foundation is going to wear a little bit differently. Because I have oily skin, I do prefer to go in with a little bit more of a mattifying base, especially because it's the middle of summer. It's very, very warm out. During the winter time, I might switch it up and do something a little bit more hydrating. But I love the fact that this foundation does seem to work with different primers for, different occasions. So I think if you have dry skin, normal skin, or oily skin, you can definitely get use out of this. I wouldn't consider this foundation a super long wearing foundation. So if it's super hot outside, if you have incredibly oily skin, or you have a long day ahead of you, you might want to go in with a little bit more of a long wearing formula. But if you want a really nice everyday foundation that has a little bit more coverage than a tinted moisturizer, then I think it's a great option. What I like about this product is that it does wear away very nicely, just like the tinted moisturizer. Because this one is more medium to buildable, if I'm wearing a mask or touching my face or it's so hot and I'm sweating and my foundation starts to wear away, it doesn't look like I had a ton of foundation on and then all of a sudden you see my skin in 1 or 2 different areas on my face. The last things I wanted to touch on are the packaging and the price. So it comes in a lightweight plastic bottle. You can see the shade through it, and then there is a pump and also a cap. It retails for $16 and you get the standard 1 fluid ounce. $16 is obviously not as expensive as like a high-end foundation from Sephora, but it is a little bit more expensive than I thought it was going to be. I think their complexion products tend to be a little bit pricier than some other affordable or drugstore alternatives out there. Colourpop isn't technically a drugstore. I mean, I know they're sold at Ulta, but I would say that this is more on par with like mid-range pricing. So let's jump into the rest of the video. I'll do the demo, show you guys how the product applies, and then do some check-ins and show you how it wears throughout the day. So I'm just going to prep my skin with the e.l.f. Oil Control Primer Mist. I've tried a few different primers with this foundation. If you have dry skin, a hydrating primer will work well. Smoothing primers are great. So I just shake it up really well and spray a little bit into my hands and then just kind of apply it where I get the most oily, which is the center of my face. So I did purchase this from Colourpop's website. I got the shade Light 45W, which is actually just a little bit too light for me. I wasn't thinking because I do wear the shade Light 45W in the concealer, and on me it is a little bit more of a brightening shade, especially during the summer because I did get a slight tan. So that's what Light 45W looks like on my hand, but Colourpop actually sent me these little sample sizes, so that's good because I'll actually have a shade that works well for me in today's video. So this is Light 50W and this is Light 45W. Light 50W definitely has a little bit more of a yellow undertone, so I'm going to go in with that one because that's what will match my neck the best. So to apply the product, I'm just going to be using this Milk Makeup Foundation brush. This was part of their holiday release. You can use any buffing brush. This is just the one that I currently have clean. You can use a damp sponge. A damp sponge is going to give you more of a sheer, natural look, but typically I do apply my foundation with a brush. I always apply it with a brush, so that's what I'll do today. So the first layer, we'll go in with a light layer just so you can see the coverage that you can get. It definitely has a really nice soft satin finish. It blends out really beautifully. I'm just going to stipple the product on, kind of work it into the skin, and then also work it down onto the neck. Sometimes I think if you have oily skin and you hear the word hydrating in a foundation, it can be a little bit intimidating, but hydrating foundations just look so pretty and natural on the skin. So I think if you prefer a really matte foundation, the satin finish on this one probably is not going to appeal to you because it doesn't dry down to a matte finish. It definitely has more of like that soft and natural finish. So one layer definitely did a good job at evening out my skin tone, covering redness. I'm kind of dealing with a few breakouts on my chin, and I feel like it did camouflage those, but you can definitely still see my freckles through my skin. I'm just going to show you guys what it looks like if you build it up just a little bit. Not everywhere, just in a few areas. So I'm just going to take a little bit more and kind of apply it on the outer portion of my face, stipple it on. This foundation builds and layers really, really well. Because of the texture, it doesn't look heavy or cakey. It's more of a light to medium coverage foundation, but I feel like you can get good, solid medium coverage out of this without it looking heavy or feeling uncomfortable. So this is what the foundation looks like, built up just a little bit. I didn't go in with a full second layer. I just kind of built it up on the outer portion of my cheeks, my forehead a little bit. And if I was someone who didn't have to set my foundation, this is the type of finish that I would love because I feel like it looks very naturally beautiful on the skin. It doesn't look overly glowy. It's not super matte. Unfortunately, if I don't set my foundation, it's going to melt off within the hour because my skin does get pretty oily. But if you have normal or dry skin, I think you will love the finish of this foundation. So I'm going to finish my makeup and then I'll be right back to show you what everything looks like. Okay, I finished the rest of my makeup. I'll put a list of what I'm wearing in the description box below. But as for the complexion, I just went in with the Milani Conceal and Perfect Concealer in the shade 120. I applied a little bit under my eyes, between my brows, and then on my chin. And then I also set everything into place with the Too Faced Peach Perfect setting powder. This is my favorite setting powder. It's really mattifying, so my skin definitely looks a lot more matte than it did when I just applied the foundation. And then I just applied a little bit of concealer on that freckle on my nose. But even though my skin looks super matte right now, because this is more of a natural finish foundation, I feel like after an hour, once, everything kind of sets into place, my skin will look a lot more natural. At least compared to what it looks like when I use a super mattifying foundation, which I kind of like. So as you can see, it definitely has good coverage, but I still have freckles showing through, which I think is kind of nice, especially for the summertime. But I'll definitely do some check-ins to show you guys how the foundation wears throughout the day. I don't have a lot going on today, but I do need to run just like 1 or 2 errands, so I will be wearing a mask, which I feel like can kind of disrupt the foundation a little bit, but the reality is most of us are wearing a mask when we're leaving the house these days, so that will give you guys an idea of how it holds up under a mask. Other than that, I'll probably be around the house, cleaning, just kind of doing random things, so I'll check in with you guys in a few hours. I just wanted to film a quick clip to show you guys what this foundation looks like in natural light. My house is pretty shaded throughout the day, but I feel like this will give you guys a good idea. I'm just kind of standing in front of a window. The foundation looks great in natural light. It doesn't look heavy or cakey, and it doesn't settle. Like, I have a lot of fine lines on my forehead like throughout the day when I go like this, and sometimes foundations can kind of settle in those lines, and this one doesn't look like it is right now. So I love how it looks on the skin. I think it looks great, especially for everyday wear, but I'll check in with you guys in a few hours and show you how it looks. Okay, I wanted to film my first check-in. It is currently 5:06, so I've had this foundation on for almost 5 hours at this point. I guess like 4.5 hours, almost 5. So this is what my skin looks like. It's looking pretty oily just around my nose, but other than that, I feel like it's holding up pretty well. I actually have to run an errand, so I thought I would check in with you before I go outside because it is 88 degrees out there, so it's pretty warm. It's very, very sunny, and I am going to have a mask on, so I wanted to show you what my foundation looked like before that, so I could check in with you at the the end of the night and we can see how much transfers and wears away. Before I leave, I am going to blot my skin and apply just a little bit of powder. I usually have to do this halfway throughout the day no matter what foundation I'm wearing, especially if I'm going somewhere I just want my makeup to look really fresh. Otherwise, I might leave it, but if I do that by the end of the day, it will look so oily. So I have these e.l.f. blotting papers. I've had these for a while. You don't have to use anything fancy. Sometimes I use toilet paper, just whatever's on hand. But because I have these, I've just been using them. So after I blot my skin, I usually take a light dusting of powder just to lock everything back into place, especially if I'm going outside where it's hot. So this is the e.l.f. Matte Blotting Powder. I'm just going to take a small amount. I actually have a review on this entire line coming soon. It should be my next video. But this is a really lightweight powder, so I just kind of take it on a small brush. And I don't powder my entire face. I just kind of powder any areas where I tend to get pretty oily. So as you guys saw, that's just like the center of my face. Okay, now that my skin is looking matte again, I'm ready to go. If you have normal skin or dry skin, you might not have to do that, but I usually just do that halfway throughout the day, no matter what foundation I'm wearing, just to make sure that it stays in place well for the rest of the day. So I will check back in with you guys at the end of the night, probably in about 5 hours, and I'll call that my final check-in. Okay guys, I'm back with my final check-in. It is currently at 10:26, so I've been wearing this foundation for 10 hours, and I wanted to give you guys one last look at it. So this is what it looks like at the end of the day, at the end of a hot summer day. I honestly feel like it looks really good for a more hydrating satin finish foundation. A lot of hydrating foundations just melt off my skin by the end of the day, and while they apply really nicely and look really good initially, after a few hours it looks like just kind of a melted mess. But I feel like this foundation looks pretty good. My skin is obviously looking a little bit oily, and there is some wear on my nose where I had the mask and then also on my chin, but it held up really well on my cheeks, the majority of my forehead, and I'm impressed by it. This foundation is so comfortable, so lightweight, and I really think it will be a staple of mine once we head into fall and then winter as well, because it is so comfortable and it also stays in place well and wears really well throughout the day. So I do like this foundation. Let me just blot my skin one last time. Even doing that made a big difference. I didn't add any extra powder, but I feel like just taking that step and blotting away any extra oil makes my skin look pretty fresh again. And honestly, I could probably go another hour or two without, washing my face, but I am going to go wash my face because it's late at night. But that being said, I think it looks good. I could totally see this becoming like one of my new go-to foundations. I don't have a lot of foundations that are like a solid medium coverage. A lot of them are very light, like the Colourpop Pretty Fresh Tinted Moisturizer, and the majority of them are really full coverage like my Fenty foundation. What's really nice about this foundation is that it doesn't seem to settle into fine lines. I do have some fine lines on my forehead and like right here, and a lot of foundations really settle into those lines by the end of the night, and this one just looks smooth. It's the same case with the Pretty Fresh Tinted Moisturizer. That's why I love that product so much. It just seems to sit on top of the skin rather than like sinking into fine lines, enhancing texture, and I feel like it is the same case with this foundation. So I do love this. For me, it is something that I will continue to use. Like I said, $16 is still a little bit more expensive than I thought it was going to be, but because it looks so good on the skin, I feel like I can kind of justify the price point. Okay, so that is it for me on this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video and you want to see more foundation reviews and wear tests, let me know in the comments section below. I'll be sure to film them, and let me know if there's a specific foundation I should try out next. Otherwise, I'll see you guys very soon with a new video. Bye.